This is a presentation of BSRN, Box Studios Radio Network. The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here is your host of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for May 1st, 2025. This is season 14, episode number 64, and episode number 503 of the long-running podcast that is the Power Play Post Show. Hello, everyone. I am Bob Howard. Thank you very much for tuning in. We've got a great show for you. If it is May, that means that it is time for the Commissioner Cup Finals, which we will obviously preview here in this show and get you ready for the games 1 and 2, which will be happening this weekend in Winston-Salem. I know there's a bunch of Binghamton Black Bears fans traveling down to Winston-Salem over the next day or two. Be safe, guys. Hopefully you listen to the Power Play Post Show and you get yourself all ready for Black Bears and Thunderbirds finals rematch from last year, where the Black Bears did win 3-0 over, really the Gus Ford show, right? Because Gus Ford had 5 goals, probably should have had 6 goals in the finals. And, the Thunderbirds are looking to exact their revenge or, get a cup because they haven't won one in the 2 finals previously. So I know that they are amped up and ready. Well, we have a great show for you. We're going to talk to a Binghamton Black Bears player. We're going to talk to Brendan Reilly, the broadcaster of the Carolina Thunderbirds, and we'll get both of their thoughts, Cam Cervone and Brendan Reilly's thoughts on the finals and what the two teams have to do to beat each other. And they're very similar teams, in my opinion. I think they play a very similar game. They both have depth in scoring. Secondary scoring is big on both of these teams. They do have structured lines on both of these teams, although I think the Black Bears kind of shift some of the parts of those lines around a little bit more than Carolina does. So it'll be very interesting. But one of the first things I want to talk about before we even get into the meat and the matter of the show is obviously yesterday, on Tuesday, everybody, Connor McNamara was named FPHL Goaltender of the Year. I don't think this is going to be a shock to anybody that this happened. He did such a great job. Basically he was the goaltender of record. He played in 34 games. He was 33-1. He had a .922 save percentage and a goals against average of only 2.8 in the regular season. He had 4 shutouts. He's already added 3 more of those in the playoffs. And over the course of the year, McNamara had a 16-game winning streak stretching from January 10th to March 28th. He also had a stretch of 9 games with only allowing 2 goals or less. He did not lose back-to-back starts all season. Easily, probably playing on the best team this year, was the best goaltender in the league by far. And I think he's actually a lot better than he was last year. I think fundamentally some of the things that he did within his game even got better. And let's be honest, this is a guy who's coaching in one of the better elite coaching camps in the summertime. And I think that he takes to heart what he does on the ice and what he coaches to the kids. So great job. So now in his career, he has 48 wins, 6 shutouts in regular season, 921 save percentage in his career, and a 221 goals against average. He's saved 1,534 and total minutes played of 3,568. He is basically the leader, franchise leader for all of those categories in Binghamton hockey history, or in Binghamton Black Bears history, which is pretty cool. And let's be honest, I think that the Black Bears could have won a lot of games even without Connor. I think they're a good team. but he was one of the big reasons why they did win all of those games that they did. Congratulations to C-Mac, and I think everybody is proud of you and happy for you, and we're looking forward to a great finals run, which will be pretty cool. I also want to let everyone know early up that on Friday, the Black Bears team offices will be closed on Friday. Now, a lot of the staff members are driving down to Winston-Salem for the game. So for games 1 and 2 in Winston-Salem. So they will not be at the offices. So if you want to buy tickets, do them Thursday, do them on Monday when they reopen, but they will not be there on Friday. I know that Brooks will also be getting out to all of us what the YouTube link will be. It might be the same one as it was for Sunday's game, but we'll find out, and I'm sure Brooksy will get that out to all of us as well. So if you're not going to the game, look out for all the messages on social media of saying where the link is going to be for the YouTube channel to watch the game. I think those are all the special announcements that we wanted to do. So, all right, the Power Play Post is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post on whichever platform you listen to your podcast, and please subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook and search Power Play Post Show, and please join. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. And on this edition of the Power Play Post Show, from the Carolina Thunderbirds, Brendan Reilly, and from the Binghamton Black Bears, Cam Cervone. Okay, let's get into this. The Binghamton Black Bears and the Carolina Thunderbirds meet for the second season in a row in the Commissioner Cup Finals. Both teams took the same path to get to the finals. This is the interesting part, folks. Both finished first in their divisions, okay? Carolina, 41-11-4 for 124 points in the Continental Division. They were the top seed in the Continental. Binghamton was 49-6-1 for 143 points in the Empire Division. They were number one in the league, but they were also number one, obviously, in the Empire Division. Both teams defeated the first-round opponents in a two-game sweep. Carolina defeated the Blue Ridge Bobcats in a two-game sweep, 5-2 in Wytheville on Friday, a couple weeks ago, and then 4-1 in Winston-Salem. Binghamton also defeated their first-round opponent, the Watertown Wolves, in a two-game sweep, 3-2 up in Binghamton, or up in Watertown, and then 4-0 in Binghamton. Okay, both teams then defeated their second-round opponents in three games. Carolina defeated the Columbus River Dragons 2 out of 3 games, losing the first game on the road. They lost 4-1 on the road in Columbus. That was a Wednesday, so that was a midweek game. And then they won in Winston-Salem 4-1 on Friday, and then won in Winston-Salem 3-2 on Saturday. I believe that was in overtime. Gus Ford getting the game winner to send them to the finals. Now, Binghamton defeated Port Huron 2 out of 3 games, losing the first game on the road as well. Now, their games were a little bit different because this was the only time that the loser did not score a goal in all 3 games. So if you think about it, Binghamton lost 3-0 in Port Huron on Friday. Then they all shifted back to Binghamton, and Binghamton won in the arena 4-0 on Saturday, and then won in Binghamton again 6-0 on Sunday to advance. So Carolina and Binghamton took very similar paths. Their playoff story is very similar to get to the finals. The two teams only met once in the regular season. The game was played in Binghamton on March 15th, 2025, a Saturday in front of a sellout crowd at the arena. There was only one goal. It was Austin Thompson, after a face-off win by Tyson Kirkby, who got the only assist in the game. Connor McAnana saved 26, all 26 shots he faced in the game, just one of his 4 regular season shutouts this season. Mario Cavalieri saved 34 of 35 shots. He was great in this game. and for the tough loss for the Thunderbirds netminder, and only in the only matchup this season. But he was so good. Both goaltenders were really good in this game. Last season in the finals, the Black Bears swept the Thunderbirds in 3 games. Now, you see, you hear sweep and you think, oh, it was they dominated them and they beat them badly. That wasn't the case at all. The Black Bears and the Thunderbirds had really good games. Friday, May 3rd, 2024, in Carolina, it was a 5-3 win for the Binghamton Black Bears. They take the first period with a 3-goal lead. So in the first period, they got goals from Connor Smith, Justin Samaro, Josh Fletcher in the first 20 minutes of the game. And I think probably everybody was actually surprised at this point that the Black Bears had a 3-0 lead over Carolina in Game 1 after the first 20 minutes. Dan Stone scores the Black Bears' only goal in the second period at the 2:10 mark, just 34 seconds after Gus Ford tally that had gotten the Thunderbirds on the board. So at the end of 2 periods, this game was 4-1. Then in the third period, Gus Ford scores twice, making it a 4-3 game. He got a hat trick, and it was a 4-3 lead for the Black Bears before Austin Thompson sealed the deal with an empty netter with 11 seconds to go in the game. In this game, C-Mac saved 43 of 46 shots, and Mario saved 32 of 36. Stone with the only power play goal of the game. And you'll kind of sense a theme here as we go through these other 2 games about the special teams play for the Black Bears. Saturday, May 4th, 2024, in Carolina, a 4-3 win for the Black Bears. Black Bears again scored 3 goals in the first period. Goals from Gavin Yates, Tyson Kirkby, and a power play goal from Yates again, with a lone goal from Yuri Pistruka after the Yates goal first, which had the game tied up for only about 5 minutes before Tyson's goal. In the middle period, the Thunderbirds pulled the game a little closer with a Jan Salak goal at the 11:08 mark. And in the third period, that was scoreless until the Black Bears got on the power play and got a goal on the man-up advantage from Tyson Kirkby, 12:57 into the period. And with Mario Cavallari pulled for the extra tractor, Josh Keplinger scored to make this a 4-3 game. So again, another game very close in the scoring. C-Mac saved 38 of 41 shots in the second game, and in Mario, 6 of 9, and Karpinski, 26 of 27. The only game where there was a different netminder other than Mario and C-Mac. Yates and Kirkby were the only man-up goals in this game. So now, at this point, if you think about it, one of the things that Binghamton did beat Carolina at in the series last year was on the special teams. They have, through 2 games, 3 power play goals, and the Thunderbirds do not. Then there was Friday, May 10th, 2024, in Binghamton, a 4-3 win for the Black Bears, which secured their first ever Commissioner's Cup championship and second pro championship for the city of Binghamton. In the first period, the Thunderbirds got out to a 2-0 lead with 2 goals for Gus Ford at the 5:29 mark, and then almost 5 minutes later at the 10:27 mark. Donald Oliveri got the Black Bears on the board 1:59 before the end of the period. So at the end of the period, it was 2-1 Thunderbirds going into the second period. In the middle period, the Black Bears scored the game-tying goal, 10:19 into the period, which was credited to Binghamton's tough guy, Mathieu Ballard. It was a very awkward goal, and but it was kind of nice that Mathieu had been with the team for basically 4 years with a couple stints called up to the ECHL and the SPHL. It was nice to see him get the goal. In the third period, the Black Bears got out to a 4-2 lead from goals from Gavin Yates on the power play, 7:34 into the period, and then from Austin Thompson, who scored on a vacated net, 2:34 into the game. Roman Kramer was credited for an extra attacker goal with 1:41 left to go. We say credited because a lot of us thought that it was Gus Ford who scored that goal, though most in the arena was pretty positive. It was Gus Ford who had the hat trick. But it wasn't enough, and the Black Bears took that game and the championship in a 3-game sweep. Okay, so C-Mac in that game saved 32 of 35, Mario 34 of 37, Yates had a power play goal, so there's 4 power play goals now throughout the series versus the Thunderbirds, who did not get a man-up advantage goal. In all 3 games, the Black Bears penalty killed, batted 1,000, okay? And so that's pretty much what we have to preview, right? We have the 3 games from the finals, and then we have 1 game which was just, a goal from Austin Thompson. Tyson Kirkby gets an assist. It was a great game. I think everybody really, really enjoyed it. Again, the Black Bears team office will be closed on Friday, okay? And check out all the social media posts from the Black Bears to find out where you can watch the game. I'm pretty sure it's going to be on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it's going to be on the same channels it was on Sunday, but just kind of keep looking out on social media for that. They will get it posted, okay? So if you're not following the Binghamton Black Bears on Facebook, you really should be. If you're not signed into their email posts and their text posts, you should really be getting that, right? So definitely do that, because they're going to get you all the information that you need. All right. So coming up next here on the Power Play Post Show, we have our friend Brendan Reilly from the Carolina Thunderbirds. He's their broadcaster. Great guy. Love him. I'm always happy to see him when he comes to the arena. And this is the second time we've had him on the show. So we'll have him. And then after that will be Cam Cervone of the Binghamton Black Bears. And we'll talk about his injury. And we'll talk about a lot of different things about getting prepared for the finals for the Binghamton Black Bears. So we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers.
Hi, this is Brandon Buczynski.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. Very excited to have this gentleman back on. I didn't realize it'd been like a full year and a couple months since the last time we spoke here on the Power Play Post Show, but he does come to us from the Carolina Thunderbirds. He is their broadcaster, Brendan Reilly. Brendan, welcome back to the show. It was December of 2023 when I last had you on.
Yeah, no, Bob, thanks for having me back on. It's been a little while, but I'm excited for another year of Carolina and Binghamton, and excited to break it all down here. Yeah,
well, I did get to talk to you, obviously, in Binghamton when you guys were up for the one game, which was probably like, game 1A of the series, because it was such an outstanding game. Let's start off with that particular game, the 1-0 win by the Binghamton Black Bears. That was like one of the best games of the season for the Black Bears. What did you think of that game for the Thunderbirds? I know you guys were on the losing end, but it was a really good game.
Yeah, I mean, they walked out of that rink that night, and they were. Was it a quiet bus ride? Sure. Was it disappointing to lose? Absolutely, but they went in there thinking more, how do we match up with them? They, Binghamton had been so great, all the way throughout the season. Carolina and, in their own aspect had been very good, both teams at the top of their divisions. They wanted to see more so how they stacked up against Binghamton, and you only get one game. Unfortunately, I wish, got a few more matchups like that throughout the regular season, but They walked out of there and, did they see some stuff that, they needed to work on a little bit? Sure. That, eventually when we come where we are now, get where we are now, that they wanted to see so that way they can emphasize on? Absolutely. But they walked out of there, excited, confident. I think, and Bob, I think we even said it after the game that, probably be seeing you in May once again.
Yeah.
But, that's how it turned out. But they walked out of there on the losing end that night, but they walked out of there with confidence that they could match up and that they could definitely give, hopefully a little bit better series than what we saw last year.
Yeah, how crazy was it, though, that the only goal scored was really just off of a face-off win that got sent up to the high slot, and Austin Thompson, he didn't even react. He just shot the puck, and it was just enough to get it past Super Mario. That's the only thing that went through was just a quick face-off win up to the high slot, and the shot went in, and that was it. It was crazy how it was just that easy of a shot, or maybe that difficult of a shot.
It was fitting because in games that they had won throughout the year, and especially during the middle parts of the season, they had gotten burned on that exact same shot, exact same play, more or less. Maybe it was from the near dot, but
sure.
Throughout the course of the season, they had trouble with defensive zone draws, and I remember I texted someone at the intermission and said they got burned again off of a defensive zone face-off loss, and credit to Thompson, it was a great shot, but they've been burned in that same shot, same situation a couple times before. Were they able to respond and eventually end up winning games? Absolutely, but yeah, that was something that after that, I think they kind of noticed and they started to work on a little bit, is defending defensive zone draws like that. But yeah, I mean, give credit. Mario was great that night. They faced a lot of pressure. He faced a lot of pressure that night. And it just seemed like really that it really was a feeling out process for them. I feel like that what they were trying to do offensively, Binghamton did a nice job, defending and, but it was one of those things. It was just a great game, and sometimes in those games, one shot like that, that's all the difference, and it was that night.
When I watch a game like that, I know some of the fans get a little frustrated because what they see is a bunch of turnovers by both teams, right? Back and forth, turn it over. What I see is more of a defensive-minded game that is being executed really well by both teams, not by the Black Bears because they won the game, but by both teams because realistically, Binghamton would go into the zone, Carolina would poke check that puck away or sweep check that puck away, and then Carolina would go into the zone, same type of thing, and they would go back and forth. And I know some fans get frustrated with that kind of game. I found that very interesting that these two teams were so on par with each other.
Yeah, I equate it to a pitcher's duel in baseball, right?
Yeah.
It was one of those things that both sides very limited opportunities, and I think if both sides are getting limited opportunities, I think that equates to a little bit more entertaining, fast-paced game, and it just makes things difficult, and it makes the guys have to think that much harder. They have to use their heads that much more rather than a free-flowing running gun type game where both sides are just going up and down. I think that you see a little bit more skilled hockey because skill players at that point, they're going to have to make plays, they're going to have to make moves that will end up being the difference. But I think that both teams were so ready for that game, and I think that Carolina, outside of that one draw, I thought they played not a perfect game, but they were able to play close to it defensively. But obviously the attack and the offense couldn't get necessarily going that night. But I thought that was arguably the best game in the league all year.
Excellent. One of the things that you had told me was that wasn't one of the only 1-0 games that Carolina had played this past year.
Yeah, first game against Athens back all the way in early November. I would say that the game in March was the better hockey game. Carolina ended up on the losing end of both, but it was another 1-0 game against Athens. First time Carolina saw Athens, ever, and it was another one of those games. I thought Carolina had more chances in that game against Athens, and
right.
But it was another one of those games. It was tight checking all night, and it was just one play in overtime, and it was the defenseman of the year, Carter Shinkaruk, who ended up having the game winner in overtime. But it was another one of those games that was like, all right, that's what we're going to get from them. We're I think we're in a pretty good spot.
I know Gus Ford has 162 goals in the last 4 seasons, 207 assists, 369 points. But and I know he's probably arguably the best offensive player on the team. But tell us about some of the other guys and why they're just right there with Gus.
Yeah, I think that the depth that you see from this Carolina team this year has been tremendous. And the first line of Roman Kramer, Gus Ford, Zach White, who played in 186 games in the Coast. He joined them right after Christmas, joined the Thunderbirds right after Christmas, played back during the COVID year with Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
It took a little while for them to figure out each other's styles. But once they figured it out, that line just started clicking. They moved the puck so well. They're 3 highly skilled players that when they have the puck in their stick, they know what to do. And when they don't have the puck in their stick, they know where to be. They know where each guy is thinking. They know where each guy they know each guy's tendency, and they try to be. And they help each other out a lot. We've seen a little bit more scoring from the third line here in this postseason. I think Nate Keeley's had himself a very good playoffs.
Right.
The center on the third line. He was a big grinder last year. That third line is all grinders. John Petita, Nate Keeley, Jacob Schnapp, and then Dawson Baker as well. Baker missed better part of 35 games this year with a couple of different things at different points, but he came back after missing about 27 games from January until towards the end of March, and I think he's come back, and I think he's fit back in well. But it's been one of those things that they've been getting a little bit more depth scoring, especially here as of late. Nate had a goal in the division final. Schnapp had 2 assists in the division final. But really, what the X factor has been in these playoffs has been the 3 checks: Jan Salak, Yuri Pastuka, and Peter Panachik. Last playoffs, they were relatively quiet for their standards. The 2022-23 playoffs, they had 37 combined points. Last year, they only had 12, and they're a little banged up. Salak and Panachik missed a good portion of the year, but the 3 of them this year, in these playoffs, they've really been catalysts for that depth scoring, and they've scored some big goals. Jan tied Game 3 at 1. Panachik had a big night. Really, with the exception of Game 1 against Columbus, he's really been the one spearheading things offensively for the Thunderbirds.
Yeah, obviously the Black Bears have been rolling out basically pairs when it comes to their lines, right? I know the Thunderbirds really have had, the same 3 guys on the first 2 lines at least, probably since Christmas, like you said. The Black Bears have been running pairs throughout their lines, and that's how kind of Brant Sherwood looks at it. He goes, I'm looking for a pair of guys, and if I need to plug somebody in with them, they can do that. And then the scoring depth has been throughout the whole lineup. That's probably been one of the benefits for the Black Bears this season. Secondary scoring is so very, very, very important. And you've touched upon that a little bit here just now. How important do you think it is in the playoffs, and especially in the finals? Yeah,
I mean, when it comes down to it, these guys, at this point, both teams have played 61 games this year. Yep. Not everyone's going to be fresh as a daisy, going into the finals. But and so you need everyone. If you look at just Carolina last year, Gus Ford had 14 points last year. The next closest guy was 8. It was Josh Keblinger with 8. But last year, a lot of it was on Gus's shoulders. And, Gus had a hat trick in Game 1 against Binghamton. He had an assist in Game 2. He probably should have had another hat trick in Game 3.
I'm with you on that. I agree 100%. You and I.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of the weight was on Gus's shoulders last year. And the only point Gus had in the division final against Columbus was the double overtime game winner.
Yeah.
But,
that's huge.
Carolina, which was awesome. Again, second straight year he did that. But it's just really everyone 1 through 9, 1 through 10, they've really stepped up, and everyone's had a moment in these playoffs so far when the teams needed it. And I feel like last year that was something that was just missing from the Thunderbirds. It was really just most of it was on Gus's shoulders, and he didn't get too much support there last year.
Brendan, was this the finals that Carolina needs? I mean, obviously the last two seasons in the finals hasn't gone their way the way that they've wanted it, and I think probably, I mean, I personally think they played good in all three games against Binghamton last year. But do you think that they wanted the Black Bears this season, or do you think they didn't care who got through the Empire Division semifinals?
You know, I've asked them this question, and I think they kind of, I'm not saying that they want that revenge necessarily isn't on their mind. I think they kind of came to the conclusion that about, you know, maybe midway through the season that it was going to be Binghamton coming from the Empire Division. So it wasn't one of those things like, oh, we have to beat Binghamton, like, you know, we got to get our revenge. It's one of those things we have to be ready for them.
Yeah.
We have to be ready to go. You know, that finals last year was a couple bounces that could have gone, that went Binghamton's way. You know, that might have changed one of the games at Winston-Salem, would have changed the whole outcome of the series. No, maybe, but probably not. But it was one of those things that they're looking at this more. It's not a revenge against Binghamton. They're looking at it more that, all right, we've been to the finals 2 years in a row now. We need to get one. Yeah, it's more so a whole overarching thing with guys that have been here for so long. They've been in this organization for so long, and they've been right there. They're just trying to get over that hump, and it doesn't matter if it was Binghamton, Port Huron, Danbury. They just want to get there.
I think some fans outside of Carolina and Binghamton are probably bored of seeing Carolina in the finals, and now Binghamton being so good for the second straight year, being in the finals. In your opinion, you've been obviously around Carolina long enough to kind of understand what's going on there in Winston-Salem, the organization, the ownership group. Why do you think that these two teams have been so successful the last 2 or 3 years in the Fed?
I think that for Carolina, they have one of the best fan bases in the league. They have really good support. Booster Club's amazing. Fans are amazing. I mean, they make the Fairgrounds Arena a tough place to play, but you know, really from top to bottom, just they make sure, everyone makes sure that it's around the organization that the players are taken care of, and that Carolina is a popular destination in the league for players to come and players to want to be. And I think that really shows on a night in and night out basis. Look at a guy like Lane King. He said that he always hated coming to play in Winston-Salem because of how rowdy and how crazy the fan base was. And since he got here, he had heard about it, but he saw that, everyone gets really taken care of. And once you're really a part of the Thunderbirds, in their locker room, their logo in the center, their seal, it says, once a Thunderbird, always a Thunderbird. And it's just been a big history and a big brotherhood that I think is really inviting for good players to come. And I think that it's really just shown now over the last few years that they've been able to make themselves a prominent team, prominent organization throughout the league.
Yeah, and I don't think it hurts that you guys have warm weather. Where when there are points this year up here, I was like going, maybe I need to transfer to Winston-Salem and whatnot, because it was even too snowy and cold up here this year. This was one of our worst winters that we've had in a while. And I actually joked with Brant Sherwood, I think, once. I said, luckily you guys are winning so well because no player is going to want to come here after this winter. Because that's how, that's just, people go to, hey, listen, people want to play with the Lightning. Why? Because they're a good team and, well, it's warm weather, right? It makes sense. And I think it's tax-free, too, for the players. So that's always a benefit. So what has the office staff been doing this week? What is the big priority for you guys coming into Friday and Saturday?
Well, for the office staff, we want to make sure that place is as packed out as it can be. I mean, a lot of the lot of the focus is on, making sure that there's butts in seats. For me personally, it's been, making sure all the news outlets and media outlets are all, coming in and, doing the interviews and getting them on local TV and stuff like that. For me, it's been more on the media side of things, but the staff is just making sure that, when people come, they have the best experience. They want, place to be crowded. They want it to be packed. So, they can, so that way the players and coach, they walk out, skate out onto the ice, and, they just get hit by a wave of cheers. That's really been one of the biggest emphasis, but it's a full team effort trying to, make sure that we do our part on the front office staff side of things to give our guys the best opportunity and best support that they can have for a very, very tough and, good Binghamton team.
Yes. So I know there's been talk about Columbus and Carolina, Winston-Salem, sometimes having to pull ice early because of graduations and things that they start getting ready for. If you guys had the higher seed and Binghamton hosted the first two games, would the ice still been okay for Winston-Salem?
Yeah, I think so. That's always the fun part of
the playoffs.
Late April, early May, and in the playoffs is ice time. It would have been interesting. It would have been interesting. They're keeping the ice down for us next Monday and Tuesday to skate at home, and we're hopping on the bus Wednesday morning. I think when we get to the rink Wednesday morning, the boards might already be out.
Wow.
And the chillers are. I think the chillers are going off maybe right when they get off the ice Tuesday morning. So it would have been a conversation. It would have been one that would have been very interesting to see how it played out.
Not honestly, a conversation not a meeting you probably would have been invited to, right?
No, not at all, not at all. And thank God, I wouldn't want to be a part of that.
Yeah. So as we know, as you and I are recording this on Wednesday, I'm releasing this on Thursday morning or sometime Wednesday late evening. And Binghamton obviously traveled down on Wednesday as well. I think teams, probably Brant Sherwood and maybe other coaches, maybe Coach Harry as well, have learned that traveling the day, like 2 days before for an important series like this is so very important because it doesn't just give you that extra day. It's the extra 2 nights of sleeping in a hotel bed, which is different than sleeping wherever you sleep when you're at home, which will help make a difference to be more rested for that first game.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if you can get into town early enough, not too early, but if you get in the night before, 2 nights before, everyone's able to get settled in. You're able to get into that routine because there's routines. You try to keep the routine as similar as possible to what you have at home. And for these guys, a lot of them have the very same game day routine. And then when we go on the road, it's the same routine over and over, timing wise. And what we're doing, we're skating there, we're going to lunch now, get your nap in, and then boom, on the bus, head to the rink. But I think that, the extra day or two of rest and just getting acclimated to So wherever you're going, for Binghamton's case, Winston-Salem here this week, and they haven't been down here this year. They haven't seen how the ice is this year, how the boards, how the glass are this year. So, I'm sure they're excited about getting a real practice in before morning skate on Friday. So it's all. You almost wish you could do it a little more than just the playoffs, but I think that for a series like this, it's something that's definitely key.
Before I let you go, how excited are you for the finals for another year?
Oh, I mean, it's what you wait for. Before last year's before last year's playoffs, really, throughout baseball and basketball and just previous broadcast adventures, I never called a playoffs before, let alone a finals. So it's something that it's something that's very special to me. And it's something that, I don't take for granted because, yes, have we gone to the finals the last 2 years? Sure, but I could broadcast for the next, 40 years, say, and I could never call a championship series again. So it's something that is very special, and it's very, very humbling, and something that I really just can't wait to drop the puck there on Friday.
And my Yankees and your Red Sox don't meet until June. It's a travesty. Whoever made the schedule in Major League Baseball needs to be shot. I know that's extreme, but it's true. Yankees and Red Sox should meet a lot sooner than that. You are a Massachusetts native, if I remember correctly.
Connecticut native, but northern Connecticut. So
very
only
close,
about 30 minutes from the Mass border.
So it's a travesty that our two teams are not going to meet until June.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to happen sooner, and it's still think it's the best rivalry in baseball, and the fact that we wait 50, 60 games to get to it, it's ridiculous.
Name another rivalry better in sports than the Red Sox and the Yankees.
People love saying Michigan, Ohio State, and football is, but it's just the Red Sox and Yankees. Nothing can really top
I'll put that in the top 5, maybe.
Yeah,
but I don't know if it's better than the Yankees and the Red Sox. You give me a Pedro Martinez versus an Andy Pettitte game any single day of the week, and I'll take it. And I know I'm living in the 90s there, but whatever. He is Brendan Reilly from the Carolina Thunderbirds. Brendan, thank you so much for coming on again. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, Bob, thank you so much for having me back on. Looking forward to seeing you next weekend for the final 3 games up there.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully we get more than just 3 games. I think that'll be exciting for everybody involved, and we'll see how this all plays out. It'll be a lot of fun.
It should be. Thanks, Bob.
All right, and we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
You're listening to the Power Play Post Show. Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. As we sit here and continue our preview of the finals in the Commissioner Cup playoffs between the Binghamton Black Bears and the Carolina Thunderbirds, I thought it was going to be a great idea to bring on our good friend Cam Cervone to talk a little bit about the Black Bears. Maybe we'll get an update on his injury and what he's doing to get back on the ice again. So, look, without any further ado, let's bring him on. Cam, welcome back to the show. It's great to talk to you.
Great to talk to you, too. Thanks, Bobby. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely. So, Cam, obviously, you come back and you get into the game against Danbury, where the next day was the Carolina Thunderbirds, the team that we'll talk about in just a little bit. And first shift, first 5 seconds, and bam, there's an injury, upper body, and you've been walking around now for a little bit in a sling. I know you've had some surgery. Can you tell us a little bit about how you're feeling and how the surgery went?
For sure. Yeah, obviously, you can't really make it up when, you're coming back, first getting back in Binghamton, first 5 seconds, something's wrong with your shoulder after taking a hit. Yeah, obviously that was a very, unfortunate injury on my end. But obviously got the surgery done shortly right after that, about a week after the injury happened, that next Friday. Had the surgery. It was a successful surgery. I want to thank, obviously, Elise, our trainer, Dr. Herbst, who did my surgery, and entire UHS for just the entire process of, helping me with my shoulder and, getting it, helping me get back to obviously be on the ice. And, obviously, right now I'm feeling pretty good. I think I'm on week 6 now. So by the end of this week, I think the sling is going to come off, and good news, I'm going to be starting physical therapy. So obviously, some good things on the horizon for the shoulder. Obviously, trying to want to get back as soon as possible, so we can get back on the ice and be ready for next year.
I know that you said that you actually were able to get on the ice and do a little bit of light skating. How important was that for you to be able to get on the ice?
Oh, it's definitely very important. And I'll remind you, this is very, very light skating. Nothing crazy, just to kind of feel the ice.
Now,
So
did you have to
crazy.
use the little poles, where you hang on to it, like when you're like 3 years old? You didn't have to do that, right? You were actually able to skate, right?
Please don't. You can't tell anyone this. Maybe I did. No, I'm kidding. No, of course not. But obviously, I have my, I was in my sling with it. Just very light skating, kind of honestly just cruising around the ice a little bit, just to feel. It just felt good just to even feel the ice again after 5 weeks. And obviously being careful with that, don't want to obviously fall on it. And but it just to feel the ice again just feels amazing. Just could taste a little bit. All right, the comeback's starting to start to come back a little bit here, and it feels good. And it's definitely important. Just mentally throughout the recovery process, just to feel some joy. Just being back on the ice. So.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. Obviously, the physical part, there's not much you can do about that, right? You got to rely on the doctors, rely on the surgeon to actually, perform the surgery and do it well. And then really all you can do is like follow orders. How do you get through this mentally, right? Because you come back to Binghamton. This is one of the best teams in single-A hockey. I'll say that across the SP and the FPHL. One of the best teams. You're coming back, and 5 seconds into your first shift, the injury happens. How do you get through this mentally? What gets you through, day by day by not just saying, screw it, I'm just going to go home and, heal at home? What gets you through the day to kind of stay here and keep that positive outlook going?
Well, just like you said, just being one thing. I'm always a very positive person. I've always been positive, so just obviously staying positive through it all. But honestly, just I'm obviously still here in Binghamton and doing the recovery process, and just being around the guys and being in the room every day. I mean, I can't even thank the guys enough. Just always just being there and asking how I'm doing. Just keeping things light in the room, having good laughs with the guys, and just our room. We have such a great culture in our locker room, and in these, being around the guys definitely has helped a lot. And I can't thank them enough, and just makes it, like I said, it makes it fun going to the rink every day, even being hurt. Which there are some moments where obviously you're like, crap, I wish I could be on the ice right now, or you have you have your good days and your bad days, obviously, but just staying positive, and two, just being around. We have such a great locker room, and just being around the guys makes it makes it fun, and it's definitely getting me through getting through it for sure.
And is there a particular guy on the team that has really kind of helped you, kind of stay mentally strong? Is there somebody that you've relied on a little bit through this process a little?
Yeah, there's a couple of guys. Obviously, one, Blake Tosto, my roommate. Obviously loved, great to have him back from Pensacola, and he's been one guy. Just we were good friends from Michigan too, and he's been awesome throughout this. Another one, Don's been really, really awesome throughout it. He had I think he's had his AC joint surgery in the past. I forgot what grade it was, but just listening to him and how he got through his shoulder injury, and just kind of giving me some tips and some, what to do, not to do throughout it all. It's, I can't thank Don enough for that. He's been very supportive through it all.
Don could probably tell you all the don'ts for sure. Right? Don's a very well, I'll try this. Oh, wait, I shouldn't have done that type of guy. But that's good that he's able to kind of help you. I mean, he's one of the older guys, right, in the locker room. And that's the kind of stuff that a younger guy needs to hear. The do's and the don'ts, right? They kind of go together, so to speak.
For sure. And, especially Don, being a veteran presence in the room. You're going to listen no matter what, obviously, right? Especially being a younger guy. But like I said, he's been very helpful throughout it. Obviously, to share that, he's been through it. I'm going through it, and like I said, I can't thank him enough just for going through it. And just couple, can name a couple names. Mater and Clarkey, keeping things light for sure. They're on our floor here at our house at Windy Point, and Sroda, C-Mac, Weaves, to be at Whitney. All the guys at Whitney have been great. I'll name Fletch. Another one actually. Fletch is he's dealing with a shoulder injury too.
Yeah.
He was on the IR. We're sharing a shoulder injury as well. Actually, he's a lot better now, but we were both going through it. Similar injuries at the same time. So just going through that together too. It makes us helps each other, right? So
we should have gotten a picture of both you guys in a sling. That would have been like twinsy type action there. So
we could do it. We could literally do it and just maybe date it back, a couple weeks ago, or a few weeks ago, right?
I'm not going to say anything. I'm not saying anything bad about the state of Michigan and the toughness, but those damn Western Canadian guys, right? They're tough as hell. I mean, his injury wasn't. I mean, his injury is pretty kind of gruesome if you think about how it happened and what happened. And he's out there. He's like, just tape me up. Just, I don't care, string, just string it up. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to go out there and do what I do. Those Western Canadian boys, him and Dan Stone, they're just like tough. I mean, I think you can run them over with a truck and they just get up and keep going.
For sure. They're built different in Western Canada. I played juniors out in British Columbia. And some of those guys out there, there are a couple guys out there for sure that they're just built differently. You can't even explain it.
Yeah. Hey, Cam, before we talk about the finals and maybe even a little bit about what you've seen so far in the playoffs, the Binghamton Buzz, which is the N3AHL team here in Binghamton.
NA3HL.
Yeah, I always get it wrong. I always say it wrong. I should just say Null 3, right?
It's actually perfect.
Perfect. All right. So the Null 3 team, kind of like they put out a post today talking about how they've had a lot of players get some looksies by the Null teams. How important is that process? Now, I know you did the BCHL, British Columbia Hockey League, which is a really good, junior B team that helps get guys up to the next level. But how important is it these Null 3 teams really kind of work hand in hand? I know that Elmira Aviators are the Null team that's closest, and a couple of the guys have signed over there. How important is that process for, the 18, 19-year-old kids that are still playing junior, trying to eventually make it to pro? Because we are finding a lot of those players, they go then eventually to maybe D3 hockey, D2 hockey, and then eventually start playing pros. How important is that process? And I think it's a pretty successful statement when you see that 7 or 8 and then 14 of those guys got into practice with Null teams over this past season. That's pretty good for a first-year Null 3 team.
For sure. So I don't mean to correct you. Actually, the BCHL is a junior A league.
Is it? I apologize.
I play junior.
Sorry.
Oh, no worries. No, I just wanted to obviously correct that. It's a junior A league.
Do you know how many junior? Do you know how many junior level leagues there are? There are so many. I get them screwed up all the time. So I do apologize, but there's so many of them.
No worries. I just know. I'm like it is. Yeah, it's junior A.
Yeah.
BC is junior A, similar to the North American League, which I also played. I also played in the North American League, the Null.
Yep.
No, it's for sure. That's just obviously, especially at the junior level. I've always believed it's a big developmental. It's big for developmental, right? Obviously, you're just coming out of high school or AAA hockey, and the next step's junior hockey. And for most of those kids, right, especially myself, that's the first time you're moving away from home and you're living with the billet family or whatever the living situation might be. So it's a big adjustment, and obviously a lot of kids' ambitions. My ambition, obviously is to play NCAA college hockey. When I was going to, I started out in the BCHL and made my way to the North American League. It's obviously the goal in mind is everyone wants to make it to the next level, play college hockey, right? And obviously hockey's got that unique, just that unique way of. Instead of going right out of high school to college, you're playing junior hockey, right? Because it's similar to junior college baseball or, junior, JUCO, I guess I would say. But no, especially to hear that as a first year program, having guys, for advancement to move up, move NA, to up to the NA teams, kick call to the NA teams, and college commits, it's huge, and I'm sure a lot of those kids, their goals are to move up to the North American Hockey League. When I played in the North American Hockey League, we had a couple call-ups from the NA3HL, and kids come up. So you see that, and obviously they're working their butts off. I was working my butt off at the time to try to make it to USHL, and then eventually, obviously, try to play NCAA college hockey. Everyone wants to move up, play as highest level they can, and it's awesome to see. It's junior hockey is all about development, and it's I had a great experiences. I bounced around a little bit in the North American Hockey League, couple different teams, but it's awesome to see. Good for those. Good for them. The Binghamton Buzz. Obviously, it seems like they're building a good program.
Yeah.
Out there for the North American Hockey League, and hopefully they can continue off that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the places you played in was Topeka for the Pilots.
Yeah.
And Topeka's going to come into the league this upcoming year. So if you're with Binghamton, and by some grace of crazy God that they actually schedule a game between Binghamton and Topeka, you could see yourself playing in a city that you played before. So that's kind of neat.
It's funny when I saw that they're even playing the neutral site game.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, it's funny they're playing in my old rink that I used to play my home games at for juniors. And I saw they got the expansion franchise.
So what's that rink?
Really cool to see.
What's that rink like? I know it's a little bit bigger than Binghamton's rink and everything. How are the amenities?
So when I was there, it was before they did the renovation. So
okay.
They did a big renovation, I think the year after I was there. But even when I was there before that, the rink was pretty cool. I think it seats about 7,000.
Yep, that's about right.
It's a weird setup to where it's like it's a full lower bowl, but the upper bowls are only on the edge, and it's like it kind of goes up in like maybe a U shape in a way. It funnels up at the top, I guess.
Yeah.
But it was a cool rink. I think it'll be good for the league. I really do. And it's Topeka. I had a great experience in Topeka. I like the town, and Kansas City's not far, and both college towns. I think Kansas and Kansas State aren't far from there either, from what I remember. So
a lot for the players to do if they, depending on who's out there, they have a lot to do. Let's talk a little bit about, obviously, what we've seen so far in the playoffs from the Black Bears. One of the more interesting things, Cam, is at home, they've given up, let me count how many goals they've given up so far at home. Okay, I can't count past 0. So, talk a little bit about...
It's a number I like to see.
Yeah, it's a great number, but... it's not something I've seen before. Oh, okay, yeah, fine. Maybe you have a couple. If this was the AHL and we're talking about 4 or 5 rounds to get to the Calder Cup Finals, yeah, sure, you could see maybe getting a shutout or 2 or maybe 3, but that's stretched out amongst a lot more games. They've played 3 games at home and they've shut out every single one of those. What have you seen in those 3 games as you watched it? Maybe from afar, up top, wherever you've been sitting and everything. What have you seen from the defense at home that has allowed them to just be that stingy?
Well, it definitely makes me very proud to be part of the D corps in our locker room for sure.
Yeah.
No, it's been awesome. I mean, it's playoff hockey. I mean, obviously we harp on is we take care of our own D zone, right? And we're gonna do everything we can to keep pucks out of our net, right? And we just seeing guys sacrificing the body to block shots. I mean, it's playoff hockey, and everyone in our room knows it. Everyone is willing to do anything to one, take away time and space from the other team, and one, we're just so quick. What I've noticed is we're always so quick in and out of our D zone, right? It's we don't hold on pucks way too long. We want to get out of our zone and get on the offense quick, right?
Yeah.
So it just, like I said, I'm very proud to be a part of our D corps, and we've done such a great job. Obviously, I'm not on the ice, but I'm proud of just proud of our D corps, just taking care of things in our D zone, and obviously getting up in the offense. And a couple guys have scored up in the offense too. So we've done a really good job, just really playing from the net out. Obviously, blocking shots for CMAC, and CMAC's been great at been spectacular in net, and it's just awesome to see from up top, and from ice level as well. I've been in a couple different spots throughout the playoffs in the rink, but no, I'd say I'm just proud of the guys in the decor, and shout out to everyone in the decor there.
There are three things that I've seen that the Black Bears do very well, and I want to get your opinion on at least one of them. They do a very good job of just blocking shots, using their body to block shots, right? Mm-hmm. Number one. Number two is sweep checks, right? Getting that stick out there and going back and forth, especially on the penalty kill. A great job with that. But one of the things that I think that a lot of the players on the Black Bears do very well, and I want to ask you on the decor side, who do you think does the best poke checks, right? When they're just sticking that stick in there and grabbing that puck, getting that puck away from the other player's stick, who do you think has the best poke check on the decor?
Ooh, you're really putting me on the spot here, Bobby.
Yeah, I know. Well, you can't name yourself, so you have to name at least one guy.
Honestly, I really think everyone in our decor does a great job of just stick checks and, like he's called a sweep check. Just everyone, Bonner, Stoner, Weaves, Ando, they do, everyone, Scotty, jumping up on the decor, right? And, Perry, everyone kills plays. Like I said before, we're really taking a lot of time and space away from other teams, and we're killing plays at the blue or even at the red line, or especially pucks in the corners, and we're getting out quick. I say definitely our decor in general. I can't really name one guy. Our whole decor is doing a great job of just. I know I'm giving you not the answer you want.
No.
I'd say everyone on the decor is doing a great job. Just killing plays and going. It's been great to see.
CMAC gets a goaltender of the year award. I think the team probably could have gotten about 3 or 4 other awards that they're not going to get. But CMAC gets goaltender of the year. He's been outstanding. He had 30 wins this season. Goals against average, just sick at 2.08 in this league. That is just amazing, especially with the high-scoring games that can happen. The Black Bears, I think goals against this whole season was like 2.47. I mean, just crazy great numbers and everything. Is it so easy to be in front of CMAC and defend for him? One of the things that he said recently to me in postgame was, I tell the guys all the time, if you're not going to block the shot, get out of the way so I can see it. And to know CMAC, that's just the way he thinks. It's like, if you're not going to block the shot, get the heck out of my way so I can see it. What is it about CMAC? I mean, because I say he's the coolest cucumber between the pipes.
For sure. I mean, first of all, congratulations to CMAC. He beyond deserves the recognition of being goaltender of the year. He has had such a stellar year. Like you said, he's just cool as a cucumber in net. And I just laugh because it's funny because it's true. I mean, either especially as a D-man too, right? It's either you're going to block the shot or box out the guy in front so CMAC can see it. It's one or the other. But no, he just like I said, he's just cool. Always loved or even keel in that. He just especially as a decor, he talks to us as a decor. See like, hey, I'm screening. You're screening me, or hey, I see this, that. He does a great job of communicating to us, and and we try to as a decor to communicate with him, especially when he gets pucks behind the net.
Yeah, we can't always. We can't always see him talking, so he's actually on the ice while you guys are in front of him. He is giving you instructions.
Oh yes, he definitely talks to us. Sometimes he lets us know for sure. But
some colorful language too.
Maybe a little bit.
I love it. Well,
but
he always says to us before we do some interviews, "Hey, you got a bleep button, right?" So it's always kind of funny.
That's pretty good. But no, I said CMAC beyond deserves it. And I'm so happy for him, and like I said, I'm happy for all the guys get their their individual accolades because they all deserve it. We do.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about this before we get to the Carolina series coming up and what you think about that. It was amazing. They go out to Port Huron, they get shut out 3-0, and then they come home, and it felt like a different team. Now, I know some of the things that were going on behind the scenes. Everybody got sick. I got sick. I got sick with you guys. Brant Sherwood was sick. We were all sick. Obviously, not using it as an excuse. Travel, not an excuse, but these are the realities of what the Black Bears were facing going into that first game against the Port Huron Prowlers. But the response on Saturday was so electrifying, and not just from the players, the fans. The seventh man atmosphere was clearly there. Do you think that the players on the ice felt what the fans were doing in the stands?
110%. I mean, even when I'm out there playing, you could just feel the electricity in the crowd, especially in intense games. It definitely pumps us up a little more for sure, especially, how can you not be pumped up to play in front of our crowd, right? It's just electrifying each and every night. You can just feel it on the bench. That's why it makes it so much fun to play in Binghamton each and every night. But yeah, no, it's definitely, especially playoff hockey, it's important to have that set, that, like you said, that seventh man. I think they have that in Columbus. They call it the seventh man, too, or something like that. It definitely energized the boys for sure. And you could just tell on Saturday night, just watching up top in the box, we just looked like a different team Saturday night. And, I knew we were going to come back after Friday, and I knew we were going to be a different team. This is just how it's been all year. A game that just doesn't go our way Friday night. I knew the guys were going to respond Saturday night, and obviously it showed all game and Saturday and leading into Sunday as well. And I have no doubt that we were going to come out a better team on Saturday night, and like I said, it showed.
Let me throw Don Oliveri under the bus for a second, okay? So on Sunday night, obviously, the game's coming down to the end, and he gets the empty netter, and he does the big old slap shot to do it, and kind of like some people felt that maybe it was a little too much. Tell me why that was not too much. And by the way, I don't think it was too much. I absolutely loved it. But I want to get a player's perspective on why that wasn't too much versus what Ben Brockway did in Danbury.
Well, I didn't think I thought it was pretty funny. Just, at the end of the game, obviously you're chuckling,
Yeah.
Put away the empty netter to win the series, right? And it was we got a good laugh out of it.
Yeah.
I think that's a whole different, what Don did to the empty netter is a whole different story than what Brockway did in Danbury. Those are two different extremes. That Don it was funny. It's funny to do that. It doesn't matter how you put the puck in an empty net.
Yeah.
I think what Brockway did in Danbury is just a lot different than that is. For sure. They're two different. It's two different stories.
Yeah. Stabbing the rabbit and doing a slap shot into an empty net. Totally different, right? I know people tried to compare it online, and I was just like, "Come on, guys! It's not even the same thing." And it's been done in we've seen it in the NHL, right? We've seen actually a slap shot empty net in the NHL too, and it's more of a statement than it is anything else. Like, this series is done
for sure, and it's like I said, series is done. You just to me, you're just putting the puck in the empty net, and we had a good chuckle out of it.
Yeah.
And, let's move on to the next series, move on to the finals.
Yeah, and Don, if you're listening, which I know you will, probably on the road trip down to Winston-Salem, I love you, man. It's all good. So let's talk a little bit about Carolina. Right now, I don't know if you were in the arena for the one game this season because you had the injury, obviously, the night before. I don't know if you were there for the game. It was a 1-0 shutout, right, from CMAC. Austin Thompson scores a goal. I think it was from the top of the circle after Tyson won the faceoff and got it up to him, and he just a great shot from Tomer. The simple fact of the matter is people don't realize, Cam, and you see this probably more so than anybody else being in practice and being on the ice with Austin Thompson, that guy can shoot from almost everywhere on the ice and score. He's a lot more skilled than people probably give him credit for because there's so many other flashy players on the team. So what should we expect from this upcoming series against Carolina?
For sure. No, I was at the game that Saturday night, and it was a great hockey game all around. And obviously missed it by night, obviously by the with the injury.
Yeah.
But that I think everyone was excited for that game. Especially in our room, we knew it was potentially going to be a finals preview game, so we obviously treated that game, like it was a playoff game. And in the arena that night, the atmosphere and the way the intensity was, you could just tell everyone was treating it that way. It was like a playoff game, and just seeing Tomer works, probably takes the most beating in front of the net out of anyone in the league, in my opinion. But it's a testament to him doing just the right things all the time. He's always a guy you see after practice working on certain shooting, certain shots, from different angles, and obviously he's translating it into a game, and he just always does the right things, and he gets rewarded for it. And I'm happy. I'm always happy for him, when that happens, because I see how hard he works. And it's funny because we have a little running joke between him and I, just saying, you just keep doing you, man. That's what we say. Just keep doing you, man. So, but I keep telling him, just keep doing you, man. So, I'm like I said, I'm happy to see him having the success he is this year. Like you say, he works his tail off, and he's also just a great guy in the room too. And just obviously looking forward to the whole series in general against Carolina. I think it's gonna be a good series, and they're experienced veteran group over there. They're going to be ready to go. I think this is their third time in the final, right? And
in a row.
Won the other two times. Yeah, third in a row.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, third in a row, and they haven't won it. So they're going to come hungry.
Yeah.
And but we're going to obviously knowing our group, we're going to be hungrier. So excited for the series for sure.
Yeah. And how do you as a decor? I know that you're not going to be playing, obviously, but how as a decor do you stop Gus Ford, right? This is one of the guys that in this league for the past 4 years has been one of the top goal scorers. Last year in the finals, he had, 5 or 6 goals. Probably should have had 7 goals, but they credited one of them in the championship game to Roman Kramer. But you probably should have had a hat trick in the final game. How do you concentrate a little bit on him without ignoring other members of the team? How does the mindset go into trying to stop, the star guy without forgetting about the supporting cast?
For sure. My first time seeing, Ford play was when they came in March. Obviously you could see that he's a skilled player, a very good player who has hockey IQ, very good hockey IQ, can make plays. Coming from our decor, just as a defenseman, obviously your first thing, and we kind of touched on it earlier, is you obviously want to take that guy's, take Ford's time and space away as much, as quickly as you can, right? You don't want to give him any time and space as a player to make plays because, if you give him time and space, he's probably going to make something happen with it. So obviously, a quick stick, get body on him, it's the same thing that, go against, other top guys on other teams, right? You want to take those guys' time and space away, kind of get a body on him, right? Don't want to give him any room to make a play, and just guys continue doing those right things, and obviously if you keep doing those things, those guys will get frustrated, and that's just the mind of a defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to take especially a very skilled one. Team's top guys, you got to take the time and space away. That's a very big key for sure.
Without a doubt. Going down, obviously, for the first 2 games in Winston-Salem. Do you think, you talk to the guys in the locker room, you live with the guys and everything. Is there any sense of pressure that's on them to make sure that no matter what, they come out with a split, but obviously, just like last year, you want to come back with 2 wins? What kind of pressure does a player feel in that kind of moment when it is a 2-3 series instead of your typical, 2-2-1 or something like that? How important is these first 2 games, do you think, to the guys?
Well, for sure. It's obviously it's the finals, right? It's going to be those first 2 games. Even the first game, it's a very important game because obviously you want to get come with a win that first game, and, carry the momentum. But I would say that there's no pressure, right? It's just, the cliche is, right, it's just another hockey game. If we keep doing the things that, the right things that we're doing, taking it a period, shift at a time, period at a time, and win your shifts, win your battles, you could be pretty confident, you're keep doing those right things all game long, you're going to win the hockey game. And I don't really sense, there's no sense of pressure, right, to, just go out there and play your heart out, win your battles, and just, like I said, we're confident as a group, in going into games, but it's also going to be a good series. There's really no sense of pressure. It's just go out there and, go play hockey.
All right, Cam, let me ask you one very other difficult, hard question. Tell me why Dylan Konecny is not the hardest working member of the team.
Not the hardest working member?
Yeah, because he is, right?
He for sure is. Honestly, I can't think of a reason. Dylan, he treats us very, very, very well. He especially seeing other throughout comparison. Dylan goes above and beyond, and he definitely takes a passion in what he does. Being our equipment manager and making sure everyone's taken care of. He's a great guy in the room too. I did catch him snoozing on the couch the other day. Though.
No way.
I will call him out for that.
Oh, wow.
I'll cut him a little slack though. He's been working hard. So I gotta. I'll say this. I gotta give it to him a little bit. There, but nobody. Like I said, Dylan. Maybe that 1-0 thing, but I'll come to the slack because he did have a long road.
He listens to every episode of this show.
Oh, I know he does. That's why I mentioned that a little bit too.
That's awesome. Hey, so have you found a way to sneak on the bus to be like the assistant to the assistant of the equipment manager, so you can, go down there and still watch the games in person? Have you found a way to do that yet?
I guess I might have to sneak under the bus. Don't also let me on top of the bus. No, that's funny. That's a good one. No, going back, Dylan takes a lot of passion in what he does, and I'm, he takes, he loves what he does, being, with us, and I can't say nothing but great things. And Dill, I know you're listening. Thanks for everything you do for us. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Cam, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. I can't wait to see you in a couple weeks because obviously the team's away this weekend, but I can't wait to see you in a couple weeks, and hopefully we'll be celebrating on the ice. Technically I'm not supposed to be celebrating on media, but, I'll be out there. I'm just so looking forward to this series and everything, but thank you so much for coming on. No matter what, best of luck through the recovery process. What people don't talk about enough is that the physical is hard, but the mental is even harder when players get injuries like the one that you have, where your legs still work. It's the upper part of the body that sometimes will get in the way. I'm proud of you, man, and thank you very much for coming back on.
Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate those kinds of words. And like I said, obviously the physical and physical one thing, mental's another. But I'm always staying positive, and I know I'm going to come back stronger from this. And I'll be ready for next season, that's for sure.
Perfect. Hopefully here in Binghamton, New York. That's what we would like to see. Cam Cervone back in a Binghamton Black Bears jersey. He is Cam Cervone, D-man for the Binghamton Black Bears. And we'll be back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
If you're a Binghamton hockey fan, then you need to check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your news, stats, information, the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame, top 10 lists, profiles, and so much more. That's binghamtonhockey.net.
You're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you. Obviously, I like to give you guys a little bit more, especially when it's a special occasion. And, of course, when the Black Bears are going to the Commissioner Cup Finals, why not give you a little bit more? So you get Brendan Reilly and, of course, Cam Cervone here on the Power Play Post Show, kind of previewing and talking about the upcoming 5-game series versus each other, which is pretty neat. I don't think you get coverage like this almost anywhere. I know me and Tyler are going to do a lot of writing, obviously this weekend and next weekend, getting all the information and the best stuff we can out to you and the best coverage there can be here, which is what we do here on the Power Play Post Show, right? We're trying to give you the content that you guys can just very much enjoy, whether it's a conversation with a player or a broadcaster like we did here. I think we'll have a good time. I think next week we'll have a pretty cool interview, hopefully happening for Sunday's broadcast. But if not, we'll hopefully get it for next Thursday's broadcast, which will be pretty awesome as well. So that's pretty much it for me. The Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, YouTube, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast, and please subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook and search Power Play Post Show. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. Check out, thank you to Rob Lopolis, our MC, John Patitucci, our music director, and from the Carolina Thunderbirds, Brendan Reilly, and from the Binghamton Black Bears, Cam Cervone. I am Bob Howard. Thank you very much for listening. We'll talk to you next time right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.